witches, blessed be. This is WhiteRaven over here. Today is Monday, so happy Magic Monday to all of you guys. How are you, witches? Thank you so much for your patience while I was out. I was on vacation in Tombstone, Arizona, and I gotta say, that town did not disappoint me. On Friday, October 13th, I have some serious experiences over there. I suggest that if you ever get the chance to visit Tombstone, Arizona, do so, because there's many things to learn about the history of this country, the United States, especially that side of this country, which it was a very hard time for the people that live there. A lot of very rugged people, strong women over there. Not necessarily the women with the good reputation, but all these people form what we know today as the United States of America, and it's pretty interesting history. And the town is really loaded with energy, and you may have an experience or two. I know I did. So I suggest for you, if we ever get the chance to visit Tombstone, Arizona, to do so. There's plenty of things to see over there and plenty of things to learn from that terrain, that land, and that side of this country. Which is the dead is around. The veil is feeling extremely thin today, as a matter of fact. Twice I came into this witch room, my witchy room, and twice I found a lamp that I turned off and it was on again. Turn it off and it was on again. Twice. I went to my husband. It's like, listen, are you turning on this lamp in my witchy room? No, I'm not turning your lamp in the witchy room. Trust me, witches, a lot of weird stuff is happening. And it's not weird, it is to be expected. This is Samhain that we're speaking of, which is the time in which the veil between the living and the spiritual world is very thin. So things interact, right? And there's a lot of communications, and people that is open to, and maybe people that is not so open, may be seeing and experiencing things that we call strange in the mundane world. But for witches like you and me, probably are extremely normal. So today I have a video for you that is going to be a little bit long. I suggest for you to get a notebook or paper and a pen for you to take notes, because the video today is going to be more like an educational video. I want to talk about the mighty dead. I talk to you guys a lot about the importance on the relationship that we must have with the spiritual world, with the other side, because witches, the spirits, our dead, you can call ancestors, you can call your dead, you can call the dead, you can call spirits, however you want to call it. They are our first connection to deities, to guardians, to saints, whatever it is that we use. We have different names for the beings that we communicate with, right? So our dead is that first contact with all those beings that we are so attached to. And not only that, which is the dead will help you do your magic. When you have a strong relationship with the dead, your magic is enhanced because you add helpers to whatever it is that you want to accomplish with your magic. And last, witches, and I think which is the most important fact about having a good relationship with the dead, they are your protectors. They are the front line. When something is coming to attack you, they're going to be the first ones guarding you and blocking any access from evil beings to cross your boundaries, right? Your energy, your gravity. Something that I want to talk about this book really quick. You guys know that I love the Ouija board. I collect Ouija boards. I have many Ouija boards. I do not use the Ouija board as a divination tool because it's hard and I'm very impatient. But I do admire somebody that writes a lot and talks a lot about the Ouija board, and that person is Karen Dallman. She has this book And in this book, she speaks about what I just told you. When she is communicating with the spirits through the Ouija board, it is precise the spirits that have been with her for years and years and years, the ones that protect her surrounding and do not let any trickster pass her boundaries. If you have the time to read this book, it's really awesome. If you have the time to check out Karen Dowland in YouTube, you should check her channel as well. She talks a lot about the Ouija board. It's a really interesting channel. But this is why I emphasize so much and I stress so much that you have to have communication with the dead in order for you to have all the benefits that that entitles. So if you're new in my channel, you may ask me, well, WhiteRaven, how do we even start working with the dead? Well, let me tell you a little bit. The name of the magic of working with the dead is called necromancy. And it's funny because whenever you say the word necromancy, everybody has a little hissy fit. Well, a lot of people has a little hissy fit because people relate that word to evil, to sacrifices, to doing weird stuff in the cemetery with bones and corpses and many other crazy far-fetched ideas. No, witches, necromancy requires a lot of respect. This is not tricking or deceiving spirits for them to do our bidding. We're not here to dominate and control spirits in the other side for them to do our bidding. Necromancy is an acknowledgement, an accord between you and the death realm, and that is carried on with a lot of respect. So in other words, it's a mutual, respectful relationship. Now, when I said necromancy, working with the dead doesn't necessarily have to be your ancestors. It could be any spirit that you are inclined to work with. Honestly, witches, personally, I feel like the whole human race are my ancestors because they were all here before me. So when it comes for me to work with my dead, sometimes I work with my family members. Sometimes I work with people that I never met, people that I admire, the spirit of the land where I live, and ancestors that pertains to the blood that runs in my veins. So those are the type of spirits that I work with, and to be honest, I work with any spirits. Any spirits is welcome as long as they come with light. And so how do you start? So WhiteRaven, okay, fine. This all sounds really nice and dandy, but how do you start working with the dead? Listen, witches, we already know what dead person we are attached to. You probably have a grandma, a granddad, or uncle, or a friend, or somebody that you really admire that no longer is in this realm. So you start trying to establish a communication with that deceased person. And how do you do that? Well, a lot of us have altars. We have altars in our home, and I want to make a parenthesis that the altar that I have for my dead, it is not the same as the altar that I have for my deities and my different spirits that I use for my magic. But you have an altar, and which is an altar is a place of magic where you will be connecting and invoking is going to be the portal and the point of an encounter between you and your spirit or your spirits. So what do you put in that altar? If this is not an altar for deities and angels and spiritual beings, what do you put in that altar? Well, which is in that altar, you're going to put number one and most important, representations of the spirits that you want to communicate with. Like, for example, pictures, belongings of the person that you want to communicate or establish that relationship with. Those are really important things. Things that were important for that spirit, you can put in there, for example, your divination tools. Lately, and this is a deck that I share with you guys, I am in love with this deck, The Beloved Dead. And I've been utilizing this deck to communicate with my dead, with my spirits, and they answer. And again, the more you do this, the better you understand and you recognize who is coming through. And let me tell you, witches, you know when things are right and you know when they do not sound good. Because that's the awesome thing your dead tells you. Like if you get a message from a spirit that is a trickster spirit, for example, one of your dead's going to tell you, don't pay attention. That's BS. You know it. And the more you foment this relationship, the better you get at it. Okay? Don't be afraid, witches. You're also going to put in that altar your magic. If you have a spell in which you are calling upon the help of one of your spirits or all of your spirits, that's where you leave your magic. Also, and very importantly, witches, offerings. You leave in that altar offerings. All right, so let's talk now about different type of offerings because this is something that you guys ask me a lot. In the altar of my dead, I keep number one, water. Water is something that I keep in that altar constantly, especially because water is going to facilitate communication between you and the spirit world. I also keep in that altar tobacco, alcohol, coffee, flowers, candles, perfumes, sweets, any food that the deceased may like. And also sometimes I like to play music. And so how often should you do these offerings? Which is, you guys know that every Monday I attend everybody in this room. Not only the saints, deities, and spiritual beings that I work with, but also my dead altar. And I will be putting water. I like to put flowers. I like to put coffee and alcohol. And that is something that I change on a weekly basis. Now, something more elaborated like dinner and specific plates that I know that some of my dead likes, I usually cook for them on Samhain. Some people do offerings of like food and dinner like on the deceased birthdays, on Thanksgiving, on Christmas, and in other special occasions. If this is something that you are moved to do, then by all means, go ahead and do it. Only you know how often you feed your dead. Another really good question that many of you guys ask me is, for how long should you leave offerings in your altar? Well, that depends on the offering. So the coffee, the alcohol, the water, and the flowers that I put in the altar, I change every Monday. But if I'm going to do food, I don't leave the food more than 24 hours. I believe, and this is something that I learned from one of the madrinas in Santeria, talking about offerings actually many years ago, that the spirit comes, takes, and is done. So you don't need to leave food in there for a whole week or for a long time. After I finish with the food, I like to give it back to Mother Nature. If it's food that animals can eat, then I will put it outside as an offering. If there are things that are not good for the animals around me, then I will just dispose in the garbage can. That's all you can do. The spirit came, ate already, and left. It is always good, witches, that if you're working with your dead to help you with magic, if your magic comes to fruition, make sure that you also leave an offering. And so how do you know that your dead is out there? How do you communicate with your dead? Listen, witches, it's different for everybody. In my particular case, my first way of communication is through dreams. They're very vocal. Sometimes I get to see some things, but they're usually very clear and very vocal in my dreams. You can also communicate with your dead, for example, with divination tools. I particularly like this deck because it's for communicating with the dead. I also, and this is a very easy method, which is you can communicate with the dead with dowsing rods, for example. Okay, these are really cool to use. And I'm showing you my favorite tools, okay? And there's also your pendulum, okay? You can use your pendulum to communicate with the dead. Also, this is something that I really like, tabula mortem. This is like a Ouija board with pendulum. It's a different way of like doing the Ouija board, and since it has a pendulum, to use that pendulum, if that's not the pendulum that you want to use, you can use your own pendulum if you feel better with your pendulum. But it will give you messages. I usually like tarot cards because I feel like their message is more elaborated and more understandable. Sometimes with the pendulum and the tabula mortem, for example, and even with the dowsing rods, you get yes and no questions, but not a lot of elaborate answers. So to me, number one, my dreams. Number two, the tarot cards. Lately, I've been really enjoying this one or your regular tarot deck. Another good idea is through scrying. Scrying is fantastic for you to communicate with the dead. You're going to receive visions, and also witches through meditation. Meditation is another way for you to try to tap on the energy of the deceased and also communicate with the deceased. When it comes to the month of October, I like to revisit this book, The Mighty Dead by the amazing Christopher Penzak. Many things in that book I really love. This is not only a magical book, but it's also like an academic book. So you learn a lot of magic and also some information that is very interesting. I don't follow everything that this book teaches me, but I really enjoy the book overall. And about 2 years ago, I shared with you the recipe of an incense that I use on Samhain to call and try to manifest the disease around me. So without further ado, let me share this short video on how to make the Mighty Dead incense.
Okay, witches, so now that I have all my ingredients in here, the first thing that I'm going to add is going to be my myrrh. And I gotta tell you, witches, I think in this world, nothing smells more like the dead than myrrh. After that, witches, I'm going to grab my dragon's blood, and we have to put only 2 parts of dragon's blood, which is going to be 2 teaspoons. After that, witches, we're going to need 1 part of wormwood. Put 1 part in there. After that, witches, we are going to get 1 part of mullein leaves. We're gathering over here all of our dry ingredients. Witches, while you're doing this, think about the people that you want to contact. Think about your deceased. Think about the dead that you really want to contact with this incense. Think about that. That is the whole purpose of this incense. After putting the mullein, we are going to put 1/2 part of tobacco. So I have some really nice Virginia tobacco. And also, witches, the last thing that you're going to put on dry ingredient is going to be your thyme. And it's also going to be 1/2 part. So 1/2 teaspoon. There you go. All right, witches, now that we have our dry ingredients, we need our liquid ingredients. In a container, I already have 3 teaspoons of red wine. This is what this is. The recipe suggests for you to warm up this wine. You're more than welcome to put it in the microwave 5 seconds. To that, witches, we're going to add some brandy. So I got 1 of these little bottles of Hennessy or any other brandy that you prefer, witches. All right, last but not least, we need some honey, and we're going to need 1/2 part of honey, and that's going to be, in my particular case, 1/2 teaspoon. Okay, witches, we're going to add that wine into our mix. It's going to be completely wet. You are going to mix it. Now, witches, the reason why I'm giving you this recipe right now is because I want you to let it soak and let it dry, okay? Which is gonna look something like this, okay, witches? When this is dried, you are going to put it in your charcoal. And while your incense is burning, this is the chant that you want to chant. I call forth the spirits of the mighty dead, the hidden company of our timeless tradition. Be here now with your kin. Aid us in our magic so we may go deeper on this spiral of evolution. Hail and welcome.
I hope you took notes, and I hope you make that incense. Remember that if you want to use that incense on Samhain next week, you need to start making that incense now because it needs time to dry and cure. Smoke is an amazing way for you to summon and try to make the dead manifest. I remember when I was a little girl, I have some experiences while walking in the smoke of some wood that my grandfather was burning. I have some visions just in the smoke. I thought I saw an angel, but I was little and I remember telling my grandma, I just saw an angel. I just want to let you know that smoke is great for you to summon the dead, and this particular incense is amazing. If you want to see the more elaborated recipe of this incense, which is pretty elaborated, I suggest for you guys to check out this book. It's a good book to have and revisit, especially in the month of Samhain. As a word of warning, and this is something that I have shared with you in previous videos, when you do an invitation chant to open a session or to call upon the dead, make sure that you specify that anything that comes with a dark, negative energy, it is not allowed in your surroundings. Prohibited. Cannot cross your energy. Now, speaking of that, what do you do if you think that while you were doing some type of session or you were working with your dead, the wrong spirit wiggle itself in and is aggravating you? Well, also in this book, Christopher Penzak shared with us a very good method for you to clean out a room. I'm going to share this with you, and I also want to share with you what I do, what works for me really good. But first, I'm going to share with you a short video on how to make the cleansing spirit flame. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so this is going to be the cleansing spirit flame. And this is for you to get rid of any dark energy, spirits that you think that is lingering in your space. If you want to do the basic of this recipe, this is what I do. This is also called the violet flame, is to transmute and to turn bad things into good, and for many other things. I did a video on the violet flame about 8-9 years ago. I'll link it in the description of this video so you can also see it. But the basic recipe, if this is all you want to do, is going to be 2 tablespoons of Epsom salt. Once you have the 2 tablespoons of Epsom salt, I personally add 2 capfuls of isopropyl alcohol. This is the one from Walmart, 91%. I have tried to do this with actual alcohol, like drinking alcohol. It does not work as well. So I strongly recommend that you use just regular isopropyl alcohol. If you have these 2 things, you can create the violet flame. Now, to follow the recipe that Christopher Penzak has in his book, The Mighty Dead, you are going to need a few essential oils. Number 1, you're going to need 5 drops of lavender oil. 5. I think I got 6 in there. And then you're going to need 5 drops of lemon essential oil. And last, you're going to need 3 drops of rosemary essential oil. There you go. I'm going to mix this now, this is going to create a flame, so be very careful to be too close to this mix, okay? That's how it looks. You can chant your chants while this is burning. Please make sure that you have this burning in a fireproof container. I have this right here in my cauldron on top of a slate that I have over here and a stone for my altar. You can put this flame in the room that's need the cleansing, and you can chant your banishing chants. This is a great way for you to get rid of evil spirits. This is going to consume and is going to shut off on its own. There you go, this is the cleansing spirit flame. As always, a word of warning, if you are going to make this spirit flame, please make sure that you are careful with your pets. You don't have anything that is flammable around this flame, and make sure that everything that you use is fireproof. Another thing that I do, and this is my go-to every time I feel like there's something uncomfortable around me that it shouldn't be, like when my energy does not feel good. And let me tell you, witches, this is very rare, because that communication and that relationship that I have not only with my dead, but also with my spiritual beings and deities and saints and guides and everybody that I attend every single week, they protect me. They claim this place where I live, and they do not let anything enter that does not belong. But if something wiggles itself in, what I do, and this is what is easiest for me to do, and it gets rid of everything like this. I seldom use sage and I seldom use Palo Santo, but I always go to my camphor. I'm going to show you a really short video on how to burn camphor, and I'm doing this because in the beginning, when I lived in Puerto Rico, I remember that my espiritista friends that used to tell me, oh, you have to burn camphor in your house. You just have to buy the tablet and just light it up and burn it. It's like every time I did it, that camphor tablet just burst in flames, and it was dark, ugly smoke. And I'm going to show you how to do it the right way, because for a very long time, I always thought that I was doing something wrong. It's because you don't light the camphor on. You are going to light this in a charcoal. So let me show you this short video so you also know how to burn camphor. Okay, witches, so now I'm going to show you how I burn my camphor. This is another way for me to get rid of any negative energies in my home. Whenever I feel that something is off, this is what I do. It's very important that you have charcoal discs, incense burner. This is really, really useful, witches. I cannot live without my little incense burner. And of course, you want to have some camphor. All this is in the website, witches. We're gonna grab our charcoal disc, light it up. Once your charcoal is completely on, and you're gonna know when this happens because your charcoal makes this crackling noise while it's burning. This is the same charcoal that they use on if you smoke hookah. This is the same type of charcoal. Please, witches, make sure that you have also fireproof elements when you are actually working with charcoal and fire. It's the same thing. Then you're gonna grab your camphor little tablet. You place it in the middle. The tablet is going to start sizzling, and you're going to get this beautiful camphor scent. Cover it up, and then you're going to go through your house with your incense burner, with your charcoal burner, and you are going to sanctify and clear out all the spaces that need cleansing. This is my favorite method to get rid of any negative energy. I seldom use sage. I seldom use Palo Santo. This is my go-to. Okay, witches, so I'm going to share with you working that I'm going to be doing on Samhain night. It's a very simple ritual, and you're going to be needing a piece of paper, brown paper. You're going to need a pencil. You're going to need a jar like this one. You're going to need a candle like this one, like the ones that are inside a glass jar. Or if you have a candle that is battery operated, those little ones that are battery operated, then a candle like that one. Last, you're going to need death oil. The first thing that you're going to do, which is in the night of Samhain, before you're going to bed, you did your dumb supper, you sat down with your dead, you did your tarot spread, but before you go to bed, before you are done with the night, we are going to sit down in a dim lit place. If you can sit in candlelight, sit in candlelight. Just make sure that the energy and the mood of the night is still within you. Now, think about the things that you dislike so much about yourself that you did this past year. Maybe you were drinking too much. Maybe you were not having good, healthy, or eating habits. Maybe you were procrastinating way too much. much. Maybe you were not exercising. Maybe you were not taking care of your health. Maybe you have lack of courage and people was abusing you at work. Those are the things that you want to write in here that you want to get rid of. So you can put in here, for example, procrastination, right? Bad eating habits, lack of courage, lack of character, wrong relationships, choices, and so on and so forth. If you need to get rid of specific person, you don't want this person in your life, that's the only thing that you don't want in your life, get away John Doe. And that's all you write. Once you finish with your little list, witches, make sure that you get it out of you and you put it in here, witches. Grab your jar, put your list in there, grab your death oil, add some death oil into your jar, put the lid on it and shake it, witches. And when you're shaking this, you activate your magic. You get goosebumps when you do this. Feel it, witches. You're activating your magic and you're putting all that in here. You get it out of you and put it here. Ooh. Now, witches, grab your candle. This particular candle, witches, they were done last year for my Samhain kit. These are some of the candles that were left. Some of you guys are going to receive this as a surprise in your orders. These candles are loaded with ingredients that if you need communication with the dead, this candle is going to be a beacon. Grab your candle. If you have this one, great. If you don't, then put just a candle in a glass jar like this or your battery operated candle. And I need you to take this outside, which is because the idea is that in the night of Samhain, when all the spirits are lurking around, I want those spirits to be attracted to this magic and take it away from you. So you're gonna go outside and you're going to light your candle, witches. Needless to say, witches, make sure that wherever you put your candle is safe. If you want to leave some offerings in here, like candy, for example, alcohol, for example, by all means do so. But witches, the following day, 1st of November, you're going to grab the remnants of this and you're going to throw away from you. You don't want anything from this. As usual, witches, I wish you the best. And that's it, witches. Thank you so very much for staying here with me all this long video. I hope that this information serves you well. I hope you take some notes. I hope you get to do the incense and now you have some recipes and some ideas just in case you feel the wrong type of energy in your house and you know how to get rid of it. I appreciate your love so much. I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your support so much. Go check out my website, WhiteRavenandWitchesLair.com. And please make sure to subscribe to this channel and leave a comment, even if it's just a heart. In this case, why don't you just leave me a little pumpkin in the comments? And also, witches, do not forget that I am in Facebook, WhiteRaven and Witches Lair. If you have any questions, and remember, I do not work for people, you can email me at lairofthewitch@yahoo.com. You know what? In the book, The Mighty Dead, Christopher Penzak ends up with this sentence. And I want to share with you and I want to end the video with this sentence. Work with the dead for mutual evolution rather than get trapped in soul devotion. Which is, remember that the dead is there not just for us to give all these offerings and do all this remembrance. They are there to assist us. Establish that relationship and evolve in your magic. Which is, it is always awesome talking to you. Remember, you must be so very smart because knowledge is power, witches. But above all, you must stay so very wicked. Bye.